The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Brought to you by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Labor's Local 663, Shelter Insurance Agents Grant Baker in Aurora, and Sean Holman in Lockwood. Also brought to you by Great Southern Bank, Doak Propane, and Bank of Billings. Certainly glad you've tuned in, and as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. We going now to Glendale Falcons head soccer coach Jeff Rogers. And Coach Rogers, you got a big weekend here in front of you, and talk a little bit about the Falcons and this run they've made onto the Final Four.
Yeah, we're excited. This group, this is their third Final Four in their careers. So a lot of these seniors we brought to the Final Four as freshmen, basically to just show them what does a Final Four look like. Just the electricity, the excitement, the pageantry Misha puts on for these kids, and it's a great honor to represent Southwest Missouri. Last year, the COVID year, we got to host Fort Zumwalt South, who eventually won our class at Glendale, and there was no consolation game. So I think our kids have been motivated since then in their off season to get back to the Final Four in St. Louis at the soccer park. And so we're gonna leave Glendale in the morning, get up there, have a practice session, and then we've got a whistle Friday at 11 a.m. But it's a great group of kids. I'm excited for them. They've done everything they needed to do this year to get to this, and so I'm excited to see what they do.
Well, as you look at your last the 6-7 games you've won in a row, you've had 5 of those were shutouts. Then you had the back-to-back 3-2 wins in the district championship over Springfield Catholic, and then the quarterfinals over Neosho. What do you feel like your team is doing really well right now as you head into the Final Four?
Well, this group, I was looking at our statistics. They have over 70 plus more goals this year than they had last year. So this group knows how to put balls in the back of the net. And we don't really ride one horse when it comes to scoring. We've got multiple kids all over the field that are scoring. A good example is Caden Meyer is one of our defenders on our back line. And he's got, I'm guessing, 17 goals this year. And so that's phenomenal for a defender to come forward on restarts and dead balls and score. And so we have threats all over the field. So this group is really good at scoring. We're really deep this year. And so a lot of our practices, you might have a red team versus a white team, and sometimes it's hard to tell who the starting group is. I mean, we're that competitive. And so defensively, I mean, we gave up those 2 goals to Catholic in 40 seconds. And so there's some things that we're going to have to do a little bit better at the Final Four. But overall, this group, we played 24 games this year, and normally you can play 25. So we had a full roster or full schedule of games. So they're tested. They've played some great teams. We've seen some great offenses this year and some great defenses. So we keep telling the kids we are who we are. So we're just going to go to St. Louis and enjoy the weekend. One of the things I've been pushing with them this week is we know our season's going to end on Saturday. So now it's just a matter of how we finish. And so that pressure of knowing this is my last game, we know when our last game is going to be. It's going to be on Saturday. And so that pressure's gone. Now it's just a matter of performing.
Going into your 25-3, you take on a Ladue team that's 22-6 and 1. You got one common opponent. That's I believe Pembroke Hill, and very similar scores. Both, Pembroke Hill defeated both of you. What do you look back on? Are you able to look back at some film? Are you getting ideas from coach scouting reports, so to speak? How do you prepare for a team you've not seen?
That's a great question, and I think it's one of the things that happens to a lot of Final Four teams. You're just stepping onto a field. You might hear that a certain player's fast, or you might hear certain things about your opponent, But once that whistle blows and you go live, you're going to experience it firsthand. So we have been looking at some film. We're talking to some coaches for tendencies and things. I think one of the things that you run into when you look at a Ladue and the level of competition that they play up there in St. Louis, they're going to get that almost every night. And they're playing high caliber teams and they all know each other. So if we get into a match with Springfield Catholic or a Kickapoo or Nixa, our kids know all the players on the other side of the ball. And so you know tendencies and things like that. So sometimes when you play a team you don't know anything about, you can talk to your kids about certain things and you can watch film, but a lot of it's just going to have to be adjustment and figuring things out. And hopefully you're not figuring it out too late, because that's what can happen at this level, as a team can take advantage one way or the other. But I think our kids are prepared. They're excited, and so we'll get into that match, and it'll be 80 minutes or more, and we'll see what we can do.
And again, we're visiting with Jeff Rogers, head coach of the Glendale Falcon soccer program, as they prepare to head to the Final Four. And Coach Rogers, long time. You've been doing this a long time. You've had a lot of milestones. What, as you look back, what part of the game has changed since you began?
Wow. I've heard from a lot of my former players this week, just reaching out saying, Coach, good luck, pulling for the kids. Had one of my goalkeepers from the 1990 team come out and watch. He was in town, watched our quarterfinal game, and he was remarking after the game, he's like, Coach, the speed of play, the talent that we see out there on the field. And, back then you could get 15 shutouts a year, and you could get a kid scoring 30 plus goals a year. Just the level of competition that these kids are playing. And if you look at Southwest Missouri, we have a lot to be proud of with the level of players and programs that are producing great results statewide. When we started like in 90, I think that 91 team made a Final Four. And I think one of the little things out of St. Louis, they would say to me, where's Springfield at? And so it was a way of, where are you all from? But now I think you're seeing some competitive programs and players, not necessarily from St. Louis or Kansas City, but we're producing some pretty good talent here as well.
Coach Rogers, if the 2021 Coach Rogers could go back in time to that 1990 Coach Rogers, what advice would you give yourself?
I think early in my career, you can kind of focus on wins and losses. I've kind of seasoned through the years of being seasoned and extremely blessed to make a Final Four. Every coach, you have those years where you have a special group and you think this could be the group, and it's so hard to get there. So as we travel up for this Final Four, and probably the last couple that we've been to, if we're not fortunate enough to play for a championship, then on that Saturday, I'm kind of saying we're going to try to play every kid on our roster to let them experience, and they can walk away and say, I played in a Final Four. That 1990 coach was probably there saying, no, we got to try to win this game. And you have kids sitting the bench that never had that experience. And so now for me, I think if you asked a lot of our players last year who was in the Final Four in their class, they might get the team that beat them, but they might not know who the other two are. And so for me, the takeaway is going to be just the memories that they're creating with each other. And then hopefully they can say, you know what, I played in a Final Four. I have a former player come out yesterday and brought the kids a treat. And he talked to them about, this happens so quickly, but you will cherish this and you will remember this the rest of your life. And that's one of the things I'm proud of about our program, is that just the tradition. And hopefully these kids 20, 30 years from now will be talking about that weekend in St. Louis.
Friday, 11 a.m. in Fenton.
Yes, sir.
What are your plans between now and then? When are you guys heading up, and how you guys going to get ready, and what's going to happen?
So we actually got the kids out of school a little bit early today, and we had a scrimmage, a red team versus white team, and a team lunch and some film study. We've got a team dinner tonight, and we're leaving first thing in the morning. We'll get a training session there at the soccer park tomorrow afternoon, and then just check the kids in the hotel. And then, I think one of the first things, we walk our kids through every situation. There is a lot of pageantry, I guess you could say, with a Final Four. But if you're warming up and getting ready to play, and then all of a sudden you've got to walk out, and then they're going to announce every kid on the roster for both teams, that could be 20 minutes in the cold. And so we're just trying to prepare our kids for this is what to expect. But we're excited. Just pulling up in the parking lot in Fenton, you're going to hear the screaming and the yelling and the cheering coming from all those fields. And for our kids to get to experience that for the first time, and then our seasoned kids to experience it again, I'm excited for them. I know what it's about, and some of them have been there. But at the end of the day, we have to play 2 soccer games. But again, I want them to walk away Saturday afternoon, especially our seniors, to know that they were loved, and they had a great career, and we're proud of them. And so we're excited to get on I-44 and head that way.
You bet. Coach Rogers, as always, thank you so much for being generous with your time. And for those of you that don't know, that is not his office. That is his garage.
It is.
And
yeah. So my family did this for me a few years ago, just took all my memorabilia and put it up on a wall for me. So it's 30 years of great memories.
You bet. Well, Coach, congratulations on getting the Final Four. Go bring home the biggest trophy, and we'll visit again maybe next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the coverage.
Hey, you bet. Jeff Rogers here on the Missouri Sports Network, where everyone has a home field advantage. Keep it right here. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Brought to you by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, the Bank of Billings, Shelter Insurance Agent Grant Baker in Aurora, and Sean Holman in Lockwood. Certainly glad you've tuned in. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Going back down to Webb City, Missouri, and Coach John Roderick. And Coach, thanks for being part of the show today.
You bet, Guy. Great to be here.
Coach, we got to go back and talk about last week. You got Carthage. Last week you come out and win 28-21 after kind of getting handled early in the season. Tell us about that contest and the adjustments that the Cardinals made.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt we got handled all right. We got hammered, really. It was kind of a game early season. It was our 4th game of the year, and Carthage is a really, really good football team this year. They've got they're real physical, strong, fast. I mean, they've got all the elements, and they really ran through our conference, the COC. I mean, they were 9-0 in the league, and some of the games I know they really the other 2 we ended up 4th in the league, I think, and then Joplin and then Nixa, and those two. I mean, they really did the same thing to everybody in our conference. So it was a phenomenal second game. Everybody calls it rematches. When you play a team twice, really hard to do. I've never liked playing a team twice in a regular season. When you win that game, when you win the first one, it's really difficult. And that second one, maybe kids being more motivated to play. But it was a game where of course, we had the bye week, and so we really had a pretty good idea that we were going to play Republic and Carthage, just based on records and scores and things like that. So we took that bye week, and I think we practiced 4 days, and we actually split it. We went 2 and 2 days, kind of working on Republic, 2 days working on Carthage, just kind of to get a head start, because you're always wanting to do fundamental things during that week. So we kind of started prepping that week. And then last week, of course, the week before, I guess, we played Republic. Republic's a really good team this year, and they were much improved. So, we had to work on them that week. And then last week, you worked on Carthage. I think it has a lot to do with just, kids and their maybe their mental focus. Just when you get to this point in the season, you can really narrow things down. Like here's what we have to do. When you're kind of going through a season, it's a week by week process. Okay, here's what they do. Here's what we do, and then for us, we're a different team. Much different team than we were early in the season. The biggest difference that I saw in this game, I mean, it was both offense and defense, but our defense really played well. We had maybe 4 or 5 series where we forced them either to punt or they turned it over on down. So I think that was the biggest difference was how well our defense played last week versus the first time we played. Now we did a better job offensively too, I believe, but it was probably a game where there were times when I thought, man, we played really inspired, I think, and our kids just played hard. They never quit and they never gave up, and so that was probably the biggest difference. Now, when we started that game Friday, we started with offensively. We started with 2 turnovers, the first 2 series. The second one they took back for a touchdown. So we're down 14-0, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. Kind of like seemed like the first game all over again. And then, but when you're playing in the elimination game, I think one of the things that you try to recognize is you can't freak out as a coach. You got to remain calm and just try to tell the kids one play at a time.
Yeah, you go back to that contest. You talked about getting, being on the short end. In week 1, a lot of times as a coach, you feel like, well, we've already won this game. There's not a lot of adjustments you need to make. But then you also, on the other side, you don't know what adjustments the other team is making. So you're kind of blind there. Yeah. And so it's always good to kind of get that second one for sure. And now you go down to the last minute, it's tied at 21. You get a turnover, Cabance fumbles. Take us through just that last series to get that go-ahead touchdown.
Well, the last series was really, really it's kind of like I remember on the headsets with our offensive coaches. We're sitting here thinking, gosh, I mean, we're thinking, okay, I hope we got to hold them. We can't let them score. Can't let them score. That's what we're telling ourselves. And then you're thinking, okay, playing for overtime. That's why you start planning for overtime. Start thinking, okay, what do we need to do? And then we punched the ball out. I mean, you feel really, really bad for that young man, Cabance, because the quarterback, I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's been a phenomenal player for them. Probably hasn't turned the ball over one time in his whole year. And gosh, you feel terrible for that kid. But we knocked one out. We recovered. We got the ball on fairly short field, and so now we're thinking score. Our PAT field goal unit this year has been less than stellar. It's been really, really tough. I mean, we've struggled from game 1, and it's been a real challenge. But so we get the ball down, we pick up a few first downs, and we get inside, I think the 5, inside the 10 maybe. I called a timeout, and honestly, that was a mistake on my part. I mean, we're limited on the amount of time that's left in the game, but I called a timeout, and I realized it was my last timeout. So, I think we were setting that 3rd down, and it's like, okay, you kind of have to plan a couple plays in advance, and it's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run this play. If we score, it's great. If we don't, the only option we had was to run our field goal team on the field and try to attempt a field goal. If we didn't want to run another play, we still had the opportunity to get a first down. So it's like, okay, if we get a first down and don't score, we're going to clock it, save the time. And so, you have to play all those scenarios through in your mind. That's the one thing I like about watching college football or NFL. When you're coaching every day, you're thinking about those scenarios. Okay, you got a timeout right here, or whatever. And so, but kids just really stepped up. I mean, that's really what happens in that situation.
Yeah, you go in, you get the win, 28-21. Now you've got a Lebanon team who is kind of a rematch as well from a year ago, and this, by all accounts, maybe Will Christian's best team that he's had at Lebanon. They can they're big up front. They love to run the football. This game may just take an hour and a half to finish. They're going to keep it on the ground. What are the challenges you're looking forward to with Lebanon, with the Yellow Jackets coming in?
Oh man, they are a really good football team. Lebanon is a team. and we haven't seen them. I remember a few years ago, maybe in 2019, the year we were Class 4, Carthage was Class 5. I just remember going to that game. It was on a Friday. I think we played the next Saturday. So I remember going to that game, watching them, and I'm like, my gosh, they're big and physical. And we played them back way, when probably my first few years, I remember we played Lebanon in non-conference games, and we really never faced them because they were always Class 5. We were Class 4 for so many years. And then, last year I was really, really impressed with them as a football team. Just, you talk about a team that they don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. They're very patient on offense. This year, I mean, you said they're probably his best team. I haven't seen very many of them, but I know this team is really impressive. They got the kid that's going to Mizzou, and they've got a little bit of everything. I mean, they're physical up front. They're guys that are running and on defense, they run and chase the football, and physical tacklers, and and they got speed. I mean, so it's going to be a great challenge for us. When we started the game last year, they started with the ball. I think they had like 18 or 19 offensive plays in their first series, and so we had less than 40 snaps. So it's going to be one of those games. We're going to have to certainly maximize every possession we have offensively.
When you wake up Saturday morning, if the Cardinals are to win this game, what's one or two stats that you're gonna look at and say this is why we won? Maybe time of possession, maybe turnovers, maybe penalties. I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, well, it's all. I think statistically, you always look at the turnover margin. That's the one thing. If you can get a turnover, just like the other night, we had to overcome the two we had. But it was pretty even from there on out. And then we get the one late, and that one late certainly made a difference in our ability to win that game. But the turnover is always going to be a factor. And then, with Lebanon, you have to be able to get yourself off the field on defense, which is really, really hard because they pound the ball at you, and they run some little misdirection. They run option, they run power. I mean, they're really good and like I said, really patient. So, the big thing is probably the number of plays. How many plays did they have? How many plays do we have? And then, sometimes you start looking statistically at the end of a game, and you go, well, we outgained them, but maybe we had more plays than them, So I think that average per play, is always a big one. And then, real honestly, a lot of times in these games, when you get two teams that like to do this similar philosophies, we're going to try to run the ball. How well are you throwing the ball? We may only throw it 5 times sometimes, but if we can be 3 of 5, or if we can be 4 or 5, or if you can connect, and they, when they throw it, they're pretty effective too, as we've witnessed. So, it should be a great matchup. I certainly our football team this year, we don't take anything for granted. The year we've had, and we're certainly feel fortunate to still be playing. But as we kind of told our kids Monday morning, it's like you got to come back, and we got to create the same mentality we had last week, because everybody that we play, certainly from here on out, or from last week or the week before, I mean, is capable of ending our season.
You bet. Well, Coach Roderick, thanks so much for your time today. Best of luck, and and what time do the gates open down there?
Yeah, we'll open the gates at 5:30. Game time's at 7. When we get to this point in the season, starting after districts, it's all digital ticketing. So that's one thing that's kind of new for some of us older guys. Hard to figure that stuff out. But it's all digital ticketing through Misha, and so. We won't be accepting cash at the gate. Just I don't know, if we catch one person, maybe we're with this message. But yeah, we're excited. We're excited to still be playing, obviously.
You bet. Well, Coach, hey, best of luck, and hopefully we get to maybe visit again next week.
Thanks a lot, guy. Appreciate it.
You bet. You're listening to the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Keep it right here. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Guy Newcomb, the school board guy, alongside, and as always, presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Shelter Insurance Agents Grant Baker in Aurora, Sean Holman in Lockwood. Doak Propane, the Bank of Billings. Labor's Local 663 reminds us to drive safely in all work zones, and Great Southern Bank. Certainly glad you've tuned in. We're going to go north to Monroe City. We've been there prior doing a little basketball preview with Coach Brock Eteris, and now we've got the head football coach, Coach David Kirby, on with us. Coach Kirby, thanks so much for your time today.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
You bet. 11-1, and you've won 6 in a row. You've averaged kind of 56, 58 points over that stretch. Your defense is playing really well. You've got back-to-back shutouts, I believe, in districts. Kind of take us through the playoffs up to this point for the Panthers.
We finished strong in our regular season, won a conference title, and then the district run, we ended up earning the #1 seed, and we were playing Van Far week 1. We have a lot of talented kids, and we played very well. Scored 70 points that first week. Had a lot of kids contribute, and then week 2, we played. Oh my goodness, I just went blank.
Brentwood.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And our defensive game plan was very good. They're a very good running ball club, and we were able to really kind of hamper their run game and jump out quick on them. And our defense floated around, made some great tackles, and our offensive line is playing well, and we're creating new lines of scrimmage, and we were able to win that one, pitch a shutout, and then going into the district title game, and we were playing a team that we're kind of familiar with, and Mark Twain, and our kids played very, very well. Defensively, we were very much on point. We read our keys very fast, and offensively, we do have some very special athletes, and we were able to jump out real quick, not only in the run game, but in the pass game, and kind of stretch the score out.
Again, we're visiting with head coach David Kirby at Monroe City. And Coach Kirby, just a little bit before we get into your quarterfinal game, just a little bit about your background. I know off the air we talked, and you actually played for a high school teammate of mine at Mike Thompson. But tell us a little bit about where you went to high school, college, and how you ended up at Monroe City.
Yes, sir. I'm from the Boot Hill, Missouri originally. So this quarterfinal game is kind of a homecoming for me, so to say. I grew up in East Prairie, Missouri, went to college at Southeast Missouri State. And after college, did a couple years as an assistant coach, as a middle school assistant coach in East Prairie. Really fell in love with coaching, and decided that's something I wanted to do. Moved to Milan, Missouri, which is in North Central. It's on the complete other end of the state from East Prairie, and taught there for 3 years. And after those 3 years, I came to Monroe City as an assistant, and that was the fall of 2011. And I've been here since. I became the head coach here in 2013, and I've been very blessed since I've been here. Great community, great school, and I've had a lot of really great kids who made me look a lot smarter than what I am.
Well, Coach, you guys are playing awfully well right now. As you go into this quarterfinal game, what are some things you really feel like you're doing well that you're going to have to be able to take advantage of in this game with Hayti?
I think one of the things that we've been very good at over the last 6 weeks is our offensive and defensive line. We're creating new lines of scrimmage. We're playing very physical. We're playing very fast. We are undersized in some spots, but we make up for that with a lot of speed from our offensive linemen. I've got 2 kids who could probably run on our 4x1 team that play guards. And so our tackles are both they're good sized kids, 6'2", 6'3", 220s. And our one kid he's a 34 ACT, so he understands everything. He figures out great angles, and we're able to create new lines of scrimmage. Defensive line wise, our kids understand their rules and their assignments, and they play very, very fast and physical. So that allows us a lot of opportunities to move the ball on offense, and then, negate some of the opponent's, offensive strengths. So that's where I think we've really shown the most, positive growth over the last 6 weeks of those 2 offensive and defensive lines.
Now, as this game will be played on Saturday at 1:00 at Hayti, and outside of yourself and visiting with Coach Matt Perkins at West Plains, they've got to make that trek to Hannibal, which is over 300 miles. You're making a 325-mile trek down to Hayti. Are you going down the night before, or are you going down that morning up?
Yes, sir. We're going to go down the night before. Friday, we're going to load up, stay in Cape Girardeau on Friday night, and then finish the trip off Saturday morning. I think that gives our kids an opportunity, one, to rest and, kind of refresh their legs a little bit. Excuse me. Also allows us another opportunity to have some team meetings Friday night and kind of go over some of the last minute things that we need to cover. So that's how we're splitting our trip up.
As you look at a very good Hayti team coming in 11-0, kind of handicap them. What are you going to have to do? What are they going to provide you as far as an opposition? What are some things you're going to have to be able to take care of?
They're very dynamic. They have some very special athletes that start with their quarterback, Trayvon Thomas. He is lightning in a bottle. I mean, 6'3", 190 pounds, can run, can throw, and he is a special player. I think one of the things that we have to do defensively, we have to read our keys. We do have some kids who are very fast. We've been very blessed in Monroe City with a lot of track athletes, and those kids also play football for us. So we've got good speed, and we're going to have to, be able to run with some kids. The big thing with us is our defensive line is going to have to do a very good job of trying to contain. And he's going to make special plays. Their quarterback will. We're going to try to limit those. Spy him in certain ways, show different coverages and different defensive fronts, and try to make the windows cloudy. We don't want them to give clear vision on things. So that's our goal. And then offensively, we want to try to keep the ball out of their hands. We are a ball control offense, and we're dynamic. I know we can score a lot of points, and we can score points real quick. So we're going to have to really figure out our kind of flow of the game, try to see if we can create, mismatches on offense to their defense, and vice versa. Can we create mismatches to their offense with our defense, and play good special teams? That's something where they've got some dynamic return guys, and we're going to have to try to, eliminate some of those big plays.
You guys going into this game, I know it's, quarterfinals, and there's always the bumps and the bruises from just a season, but outside of that, are you relatively healthy going into this?
We are. We had some kids that were, banged up early in the year, and over the last 6 weeks, we've really started becoming healthy. And I think we're as healthy as any team in the state right now, which is a blessing, because I know there are teams that are dealing with injuries, and knock on wood, we are not. We're 100%, and our kids are feeling good and ready to play this ball game.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you being generous with your time here today, and appreciate Coach Idris kind of helping set this up. We had an interview with him a while back, just doing a basketball preview. I know he's one of your assistant coaches, and I know about the talent level there. It's as far as all sports. You mentioned the track and field. They're going to be pretty good in basketball as well, and that's helping you guys out as well in the football field right now. But Coach, best of luck, safe travels, and hopefully next week we'll get an opportunity to visit again.
Hey, thank you very, very much for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
You bet. Monroe City head football coach Dave Kirby. And Coach, thanks so much. You're listening to, you're listening to the Missouri Sports Network here at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Keep it right here. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, sponsored by Central Bank of the Ozarks, where everyone has a home field advantage. Also presented by Labor's Local 663, Doak Propane, the Bank of Billings, the Missouri State Highway Patrol, Great Southern Bank, and Shelter Insurance Agent Grant Baker in Aurora, and Sean Holman in Lockwood. Pleased to be joined now, Lincoln College Prep Blue Tigers head coach, William Lowe. Coach Lowe, hey, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, good to be back. Thanks, Guy, for having me on.
You bet. And back-to-back wins here as you head into this quarterfinal matchup. First off, let's talk a little bit about both Harrisonville and Nevada. 41 points in each contest, hold them to under 3 touchdowns. Talk about the Blue Tigers' performance in the last 2 games.
We talked about going into the playoffs, even though we had an undefeated regular season record at 9-0, that the playoffs, we really had to bring another level of intensity, because playoffs, everybody's 0-0, we knew Harrisonville in the first game was going to come in ready to play, because it's win or go home, and everybody's got a shot in the playoffs. So I was proud of our kids for matching their intensity in game 1, which was really round 2 of the playoffs. So they had already won a playoff game and had some confidence. So we knew we had to be ready to go from the start. And then same thing last week with Nevada. We knew Nevada, 9-2 regular season, won 2 playoff games already, had some confidence. So we knew we really just had to set the tone early by playing fast and matching the intensity.
What are some things that you feel like right now at this point of the season, as you head into the quarterfinals, you guys are really doing well? What is something that Smithville's going to have to prep for?
Shoot, I mean, Smithville's so good. I don't know if I have to prep for anything, but honestly, I mean, our defense has been our backbone pretty much all year. We're probably only giving up 11, 12 points a game. In high school football, that's pretty good. I mean, we played some really good teams. So defensively, our kids just have a lot of confidence. They don't get shaken up if a bad play happens. That's what I really like about this team is their mental toughness. So I think if anything, hopefully we can match the physical and mental toughness of Smithville. In high school, X's and O's and schematics only mean so much if the kids don't believe very much or if they're not very mentally tough. So I would say just the resiliency and mental toughness of our kids has been a strength, and being able to run the ball. I mean, last week it was 30-mile-an-hour winds here at the top of the hill in Kansas City. And so being able to establish a running game and having confidence in your running game helps when you get deep in the playoffs and the weather's bad.
Yeah, it's going to be mostly cloudy and a little bit warmer at the high of 40, degrees in Kansas City on that evening. But you guys, both teams coming into this averaging right about 42 points a game. You guys are just giving up 12. They're giving up about 7 or a touchdown a game. What are you going to have to do to come out on top? I mean, Smithville obviously undefeated as well at 10-0. You guys at 11-0. One of the big matchups here in the playoffs come Friday night. What are you guys going to have to do?
We're going to have to get some turnovers and play really well. But our kids have stepped up to the challenge all year. I mean, at this time of the year, you're in the fourth round of the playoffs, you're going to play good people. And our kids understand that. Like any high school game, it's only 48 minutes. You turn the ball over a couple times, put yourself in a bad spot. So we'll have to get some turnovers, make some big momentum type plays on special teams if we can. We had a big kickoff return last Friday against Nevada. They had scored to make it a 1 or 2 score game and kicked off to us, and we had a 98-yard kickoff return that put the momentum back on our side, and that's huge in high school. So you never want to get down too much where you can't regain some momentum. So that's the biggest thing. Just try to stay in the game as long as possible. If we can stay in the game as long as possible and hang with them, maybe we can get some momentum type plays late in the game to swing our way.
You guys relatively healthy going into this matchup here in this quarterfinal game?
Yeah, somebody asked me that the other day. That's been huge this year. In all my years of coaching, this might be the first year where we've had everybody that started the year finishing the year. We've been really lucky. I'd like to attribute that to our off-season workouts and weight program, but injuries sometimes are just freak things. So we've been really lucky and blessed this year not to have any kids go down.
What time do the gates open? You guys play at 7:00 there in Kansas City. What time do the gates open, and how can people get tickets? Is this all online now with the virtual tickets now?
Yeah, our district was trying to push for tickets to be sold at the gate, but I guess that's a mission thing now where all the playoffs are digital and online. So I guess everybody's got to get it online. And then to be honest with you, I still don't know where we're playing at. Obviously, we want to host at Lincoln. We're supposed to play at Lincoln. Our kids love it here. We feel like we got a great home field advantage here. But our district, I think in the state of Missouri, they're trying to make up for that lost revenue last year from COVID. So they're trying to push it to maybe a neutral site with bigger capacity to make more money. When they say it's not about money, it's always about money. So we would like to play here at Lincoln, but I can't give you a definitive answer right now.
Well, let's miss you. A lot of times they make decisions that we don't understand. But
Right.
Again, Coach, congratulations on a tremendous season, no matter how it ends. On
Right.
Friday night. But hopefully we'll get an opportunity to visit with you again next week and getting ready to go into a semifinal game.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Coach William Lowe, head football coach, Lincoln College Prep Blue Tigers. They take on Smithville on Friday night in the Class 4 state quarterfinals. But, Coach, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad that you've tuned in. This segment brought to you by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Labor's Local 663, Shelter Insurance Agents, Grant Baker in Aurora, Sean Holman in Lockwood, the Bank of Billings, the Missouri State Highway Patrol, and Doak Propane, along with Great Southern Bank. And we welcome to the show, second appearance here in episode number 160, the head coach of the Hannibal Pirates football team, Jeff Geschwender. And Coach, congratulations on making it this far in the postseason, 11-0.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun. Kids are working hard.
You bet. And we'll go back and talk a little bit about these two previous games here with Warrenton and Jeff City. Here, 76-6 and 47-0. That's the second time you face Jeff City, and there's always a danger. You look at Carthage Webb City and that rematch and how that shook out. What was kind of your premise going into that second round with Jeff City?
You know, we just made sure we really preached to the kids that this is not the same Jeff City that we saw week 2. You know, coming into the season, Jeff City was in a completely new style of offense, and we're doing a lot of different things. So they're still figuring stuff out. Well, by the time we got to them last week, they had it figured out. You know, they knew those kids were playing very well, especially up front. And you know, we handled it we prepared for it like a brand new team. You know, and the kids, again, Jeff City was a very well coached team. So there's always, you know, you always worry about having to beat a team twice in a season, you know, and especially with a team that's as well coached as Jeff City. You know, they vastly improved from that week 2 matchup. And, you know, we just prepared our kids just like it was a brand new team, and, you know, came out, kids practiced hard all week, kids played hard Friday night and executed really well.
Well, and you haven't been able to sneak up on anybody all year. I mean, you get a week 1, 54-20 win over a very good Elias Catholic team, and you guys have just kind of kept it rolling. Now you're going into the quarterfinals with a very good 10-1 West Plains team. What do you know about the Zizzers?
Oh, they're a very good team. They got a ton of size. You know, they're very well coached. They run their system very well. You know, a lot of those kids have been in were on that team last year. That was a very talented team, quite a few of them. And, you know, they're all back this year, and they're a big physical team and a very well coached team, you know. So when you get those things, you know, you always know it's going to be a challenge. You know, they're a very talented team that have been able to put a ton of points on the board and have been able to keep a lot of their opponents way down on points. So, you know, it's going to be a fun game. You know, we're really excited about it, and this is what it's all about. You know, you get this deep in the season, and everybody out there is a very good, well coached team. So, you know, when you add their size and athleticism with, you know, the stuff they're doing, and as disciplined they are and as well coached they are, you know, it's going to be a good one.
Again, we're visiting with Jeff Geschwender, the head football coach of the Hannibal Pirates, as they prepare for the West Plains Zizzers. And Coach, what are your biggest concerns going into this game? I mean, is weather a concern? Is it what are some of the concerns that you have?
Just main thing is that we stay disciplined. You know, the kids just execute the way that we've coached them to all week, you know, and that they're recognizing what's going on. They're recognizing some of the different formations and those types of things. So, you know, as far as concerns, not that there's no concerns, there's always concerns with every single team that you play, but, you know, it really just comes down to, you know, we're really just working on coaching our kids to be good tacklers. You know, obviously they have some very talented kids that have the ball in their hands. That quarterback, you know, he's something else, and he's been top level for the past 2 years, you know, and I don't know if he started sophomore year or not, you know, we've paid attention to him over the last 2 years, and that kid can play, you know. And obviously, you know, they got a running back receiver, number 40 out there. That is, he's just a hoss. And not only that, he's got some serious speed too. So, you know, and a running back on the other side of the ball, lines up receiver, comes back at running back quite a bit, number 23. You know, and they got a couple of receivers that can catch the ball. 19's big, tall guy who's got some really good speed as well. We've seen that with some of the track times and track and field during the spring. But you know, they just have a great group of good physical athletic kids. Obviously their size up front is a concern for everybody they play. Having big guys up front that are physical is always a very good thing to have. So, it's just a case of our kids coming out and playing the game and doing what they're coached and coming out prepared.
As you look at your schedule and the film, the time that you spent watching them on film, is there someone on your schedule that you played this year that you can kind of compare them to a little bit?
As far as talent wise, probably not as a full group. We've seen some big running backs with some really good speed and battle. We've also seen some really big offensive linemen, not only with Elias and Jeff City, but, battle also. Kirksville was extremely big up front. But the combination of those things and their physicality and what they do with the ball, there's not a whole lot of teams like him. And if you see them on film, they run primarily an empty backfield. Yeah, and they're motioning back here quite a bit. But empty backfield with a wing quite a bit that plays as as another back. When you motion back there, it sets it up into more of a 2-back set. So it's just it's an offense that you really don't see very often at all. And the plays they run, we've seen some stuff as far as a lot of the sweeps and stuff that they do. Quite a few teams in our conference, they ran some of that stuff, but it was the stuff that we've seen was a completely different look. It was more the wing T style and those types of things. So, it's they run a great offense, and it's obviously is a great offense because they put a ton of points on the board. So, it's obviously going to be a different look for us. But as far as comparing it to some of the teams that we've played, as a whole, there's really no one that you compare that to. But some of the individual stuff that they have, we've seen some things kind of similar to it. But again, we saw 4 or 5 teams in our conference that ran primarily the exact same offense as each other, and we just prepare for them, each of them. As a whole new deal, and that's really what you have to do. And that's really what we're doing this week too, regardless if we've seen some of these plays or seen backs and stuff similar, it's a whole new game with a whole new team and a very, very talented team.
And Coach, talk a little bit about just the benefit of getting to play at home. This is probably one of 2 matchups where one team is driving 5 or 6 hours. When you look at Monroe City having to go to Hayti and, West Plains coming to you, and this game's actually still on Friday night, but it's at your home park. What does that mean? Just what are the benefits there playing at home?
Well, obviously, the 5-hour bus trip, that helps out a lot, even though, we've traveled quite a bit and a lot of our opponents, they're a pretty decent sized travel, and we usually play pretty well on the road. There's a little bit less distractions whenever you're on the road besides just the trip, but, being able to play at home and having that home crowd behind us, can really get the kids fired up. And not only that, just, being able to do our typical home game routine is really what helps out, even though we have traveled, some pretty decent distances, a 5-hour bus trip is, something you kind of have to prepare for, and you have to kind of, get your kids ready for it and everything, and know that yeah, it's a 5-hour bus trip, but once we get off that bus, it's go time, and so really, as well coached as they are, I don't think that's going to affect them at all, and it's just nice that we don't have to make that bus trip.
You bet. I was a little bit surprised that they left that game on Friday night, but I guess I can understand it because you probably have to go up Friday, and stay in a hotel, maybe get kids a little bit out of their comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, and even if we had to travel, I think I would have done the same thing, just keeping that Friday routine. And that's the main thing is just, really pressing the kids that it's another game. You keep the same routine that you've been successful with all year long. And it keeps them sleeping in their own bed the night before. And, if you're fortunate enough to win, it gives you that extra day of preparation for the next week. So.
Well, outstanding. Well, Coach Geschwender, we certainly appreciate you being part of the show, and then maybe have an opportunity to visit next week as you head into the semifinals.
Yeah, that'd be great. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it all works out, but that's why we play a game. It's going to be a good one.
All right. Hey, well, good luck, and we'll be following along for sure.
All right, thanks.
You bet. You're listening to and watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Back after this. One. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Shelter Insurance agents Grant Baker in Aurora and Sean Holman in Lockwood. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. Also presented by the Bank of Billings, Great Southern Bank, Doak Propane, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Go back down to West Plains, Missouri, and welcome back into high school game day. Head football coach Matt Perkins, and 10-1 coach, and now you've got a big one in front of you. But let's go back a week ago and talk about McDonald County, a very good team coming in, and you guys played a great game, 42-7. You get the victory.
Yeah, so I thought we probably didn't play that good in the first quarter. First drive of the game, scored on the second play, executed really well from one of our base run plays, ran a double G, and Connor took it 61 yards and scored. And then our next 3 drives either stalled out or we turned the ball over. And so you look up late in the first quarter and it's 7-7, and they're kind of hanging around. And I felt confident at that point for the first time in about 7 days, because I knew how bad we'd played and that we were still, tied up and not behind and all those things. And so I thought our defense played really well. I thought offensively, after those first few possessions where we turned the ball over, we played really well. Connor Lair had a fantastic game. He had 9 touches for 4 touchdowns. He's got a weird stat line right now. He's touched the ball 92 times for us. And he has 26 touchdowns. So he's scoring every 3.5 times he touches the ball. So it's a wild stat for a kid.
Yeah, you dial him up every day. I mean, every play. But Coach, now you're going in. You're taking on an undefeated Hannibal team. What do you know about Hannibal, and what are you guys going to have to do to come out on top there?
They're similar to us in that we both made it to the quarterfinals a year ago, and both fell short in that game. They lost to MICDS team, I want to say either by 10 or 14, and then we lost to Helias by a score. They're very fast. They've got some really good athletic speed all over the field, and they play a different style really than anybody I've coached. I'm getting kind of old. You see the gray in my beard. I've coached 18 years now, and different than any team I've ever tried to scout. They're very aggressive defensively, and then offensively they do everything well. There's not a hole on either side of their team. Well coached, and they play the game relentlessly.
As you look at that, what next week, what do you think is going to be some of the stat lines that you're really going to be paying attention to, whether it's time possession, turnovers, penalties? What are you guys going to have to do well, to come out on top?
I think one stat I'm going to be interested in is sacks, because I know the type of pressure they're getting on everybody they've played. So far they've gotten after everybody, and they do it from different looks. They're multiple defense, they're multiple offense. They play different styles. Really kind of here and there, just jump into different looks. See them in a 3-front sending 6-7 guys. See them in a 4-front sending 6-7 guys. Just a unique defense, and they've got the athletes behind it to just lock down and say, hey, we're going to play man everywhere, and we're going to get after you. And so I'll be looking at sacks, probably pressures. That's kind of something that defensively we take some pride in as well, as getting after the quarterback. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball as well as anybody we played. So it's a challenge.
As you look at your schedule, can you compare them maybe to anyone that you've already played, or are they a mixture maybe of a Camden and a Kickapoo or something like that?
Well, team speed wise, maybe comparable to Waynesville, but from what they try to do, Kickapoo, they run some G scheme like Kickapoo does. but they're just more multiple than anybody we've played. Matt County probably prepared us the most for some of the formations that we're going to see. So that's kind of good coming off the heels of that. But, they also get under center and they run some inside and outside veer. And they do that with a running back named Aeneas Williams. That's, sophomore, highly touted, got offers to play at some big time schools. They got another running back number 8. That's very good. The quarterback, Cortland, I believe his name's Cortland Watson. He's very, very good. I think he's ran the ball a lot for him in years past. And they do a lot that, stresses your defensive coordinator, and they do a lot that stresses you on the field.
What are your plans here? As you finish out this week, and the game is at at West Plains.
No, we, Misha did a great job. We've made it to the quarterfinals 3 out of the last 4 years. And we've been on the road for all 3 of those. So, Guy, why don't you figure out what the deal is there and get back to me on that? But we're traveling. We got a 5-hour road trip. That's one way, 5 hours one way. And then we'll be making that trip all day Friday, playing a game Friday night. And then we're going to make the trip back home Friday night as well. And so we're going to turn it into a one-day affair. And, I've had some people down here kind of question, why didn't you just play them on Saturday? And if you play an afternoon game on Saturday, well, you have to go spend the night on Friday. And so now you're out of your routine completely. And then also you're playing on Saturday. And then if you turn around and play the next week on Friday, you got less time to prepare. You got, less time to let your kids heal up and all those types of things. So a tough situation, but something I think playing in our conference prepares us for. We don't have a single game that's not at least a 2-hour road trip. So our kids are used to the travel, and they haven't even said a word about it. I've not heard one kid say, man, we got to travel. How long? How far is it? Now, maybe they just don't know.
Just keep all the maps away from them. But
yeah.
You guys coming into this game, you guys relatively healthy outside of just the bumps and bruises of the 12-week season?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate this year. We got Garrett Mahan back a week ago. Didn't really play him last week, but he practiced with us and was able to come back. And he's getting started for us at the beginning of the year at H-back. And, he'll have a limited role going forward, but he's going to be healthy. And aside from a kid that we lost the day before the Jamboree in Evan Ackerson, a defensive back that was a starter for us, we're healthy right now. And, yeah, not everybody can say that this time of year, so that's a good thing.
As you look back at last Friday night, you've kind of had time to kind of digest what's going on around the state. Anything surprise you with the outcomes from a week ago?
I don't know about surprising me, but the Lebanon win, they did that in pretty convincing fashion, and then you have Webb City beating Carthage. So Webb has had an interesting year. 22 straight district titles. They've given up a lot of points, which isn't a Webb City type of stat that you're used to seeing. But they're definitely going to be playing against a really good Lebanon team. That's going to be a fun one to watch. I know Will's going to have his guys prepared. Coach Roderick obviously will have his guys prepared. And so that's going to be a fun one. You got Union losing. Union was kind of an expected team to maybe come out of that district, and they did not. And then Vashon beat them, and then North County beat Hillsborough. So, Class 4, those things are kind of strange.
They are indeed, and we've had Hillsborough on. We've had Coach Franklin at Vashon's been on several times, and now he's trying to get some karma. Yeah, hey, when do I come on again this week? I need some karma, but
that's funny.
Yeah, he's a real good guy. I've had a ball doing this, and with you as well. I really appreciate you being generous here with your time throughout this season, and hopefully we'll get to talk again next week.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Guy.
Hey, you bet. Matt Perkins, head coach, West Plains Zizzers, and we will step away and be right back here on Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad you've tuned in. Presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane in Bolivar, Missouri. Shelter Insurance Agent Grant Baker in Aurora, or Sean Holman in Lockwood. Bank of Billings, Labor's Local 663, and Great Southern Bank. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol remind us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Well, it's a great pleasure to welcome back to the show Troy Buchanan Trojans head football coach Ryan Nesbitt. And Coach, I tell you what, I'm surprised that all your hair's not gray after Friday night. That was an outstanding game.
Yep, no, it zapped some years off our life for sure.
Well, it was back to the last 2 times that you played Francis Howell. It come down to kind of the last play, 41-38, early in the season. You suffered a loss there. You go to Francis Howell on Friday night, and Nathan Ryan, with no time on the clock, catches a touchdown pass. Just tell us a little bit about that fourth quarter before we talk about your next opponent. What was going through your mind there down in that contest?
Just really proud of our kids. The resolve, the resiliency. We turned the ball over with 2.5 minutes to go down near the red zone, and so our defense gets a 3 and out and gave us a shot. Got a sophomore punt returner that starts it with just simply fair catching it at the 44. So getting some good field position, but some just absolutely huge plays down the stretch. And like I said, just incredibly proud of our kids. So it was neat, certainly an experience.
Yeah, from your vantage point there on that last play, it's 4th down, I believe 4th and goal. You get Nathan Ryan is a wide receiver that you kind of talked into coming out. A big basketball player, led the team in rebounding. Scored 11 points a game, but obviously an athlete. Tell us about that route that he ran, and at what point did you realize that he had caught it and he was in the end zone?
Well, we on 3rd down, we went to him and we just went just a fade, back corner of the end zone. And they did a nice job playing that. So we ended up just stacking the receivers, and it's a concept we put in that week. And so he got matched up on the safety, did a nice job. He went down and got it. And it was a great catch, but man, he's been a heck of a guy for us. So glad we got him out in football.
You bet. You bet. What was that moment like there? I mean, obviously you're not at home, but it looked like the fans had traveled well. I saw so much. I'm following it, here at the studio, kind of chasing scores from around the state. And I'm following that one, and I went, "What? They came back? They won?" And just tell us about that atmosphere after the game.
Oh, I mean, it was a lot. There was a lot of emotion. It was chaotic, to be honest with you. And it took well after the play, the referees were huddling up, and so it took about 30-40 seconds, and as long as 30-40 seconds of my life before those guys just called the touchdown and they walked off. And I was still waiting for somebody to say the ball was on the ground or something bad. So really proud. It was neat of our community. We had a huge turnout. Students, alumni, just longtime community members were in attendance, and it was a great atmosphere for a high school football game. You got to tip your hat to Francis Howell. They're an outstanding football team and organization. Their AD did a great job at GameDay production. I mean, it was a great atmosphere for high school football.
Who's the furthest away person that you've heard from after that win? Who's somebody that surprised you, that they text you or call you and congratulated you?
Oh, I mean, just from former people that you know in Columbia to you name it. My phone blew up all weekend, so it was neat.
All right, now the game at hand here in the semifinal. You've got a 10-1 Liberty North team. What do you know about Liberty North?
Oh, they're outstanding. Anybody who's in the Final Four is a good football team. What jumps out right out of the gate is, outside the talent, is just how well coached they are. Their discipline, their execution. They're sharp. They got it going on. So we're excited about the matchup. Excited to be here. Certainly feel like we belong. But they're a good football team.
Just one loss on the season. Then, of course, it was to Bentonville, Arkansas, not even here in the state, in the Missouri. But tell us a little bit about your preparation this week. What's practice going to look like? Where is the game, and at what time do you guys try and saddle up, so to speak.
Yep. We get to host, so that's neat. Be at our place 1:30 on Saturday. So in terms of preparation, it's same as we spent all weekend as a coaching staff getting a game plan together. We're excited about our plan, and now it's just about the process of getting our kids to understand it and get ready to go.
Once again, we've been visiting with Troy Buchanan, head football coach Ryan Nesbitt. Ryan, coach, sorry, congratulations as you go forward from here, and hopefully we'll get to visit again next week.
You bet. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, you bet. Congratulations. Good luck.
All right. Thanks.
You're listening to Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Keep it right here. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad you've tuned in. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Presented by Shelter Insurance agents Grant Baker in Aurora, and in Lockwood, see Sean Holman. Title sponsor here is Central Bank of the Ozarks, locations around Southwest Missouri. Certainly glad that you are here. And we go down to Seneca, Missouri, home of the Indians, and head coach Cody Hilburn, 8-4 on the season, district championship. And Coach, thanks for being part of the show today.
Thanks for having me on.
Coach, let's go back and talk about those last 2 games in districts. You guys obviously were not the 1 seed in the district coming into that. You get Aurora, who was the 1 seed. You win 13-12 there in a nail biter. Tell us a little bit about that contest.
Yeah, we knew Aurora was an extremely physical football team. Won the Big 8 East, and kind of what we hung our hat on going into that week was, we played in the Big 8 West. There were 4 teams out of the Big 8 West playing in district championship games. So we felt like we had seen kind of the best of the best. And although that Aurora was a very good football team, we had already seen some good football teams. We were battle tested, and we felt like we knew it was going to be a physical football game, but we had seen that already. So we didn't think it was going to be anything out of the norm from what we'd already seen. We just had to execute, and in that first half, we just couldn't get any momentum going our way. Aurora is a team that once they're in 4-down territory, they're really tough to get off the field with what they do offensively, and we could never swing the field possession, and offense we didn't really get going. So we're down 12-0 at halftime. But our kids weren't in panic mode. We've kind of been there a few times this year and kind of explained to them we weren't doing anything necessarily wrong. We didn't have to make a ton of adjustments. We just need to come out and we got that ball coming out, and we were able to drive down and score that opening possession of the second half, and it just kind of changes the mood of the sideline, and the momentum kind of swung there, and we were able to finish late.
Going into that district title or that district postseason, folks ask me all the time, who's going to win this district? Who's going to win this? They talk about Aurora being the 1 seed. And I said, I just don't think Aurora's going to win that district. But it wasn't Seneca. I thought your next opponent, Mountain Grove, was going to win that coming out of the SCA. And like you said, you played in the Big 8 West, and you had 4 teams in district championship games with yourself, Lamar, McDonald County, and Nevada. And so you guys were battle tested as well. Tell us a little bit about that. You win 24-18. It's a touchdown game.
Yeah, it was another really good football team. Their quarterback, who's just a junior, runs that offense extremely well. And we kind of hang our hat on being able to make a team one-dimensional. But when we watch them on film, they wanted to line up and run the ball at you. But if you were able to stop that, they were very comfortable spreading you out and throwing the ball. That quarterback was completing 71% of his passes. And so we thought, well, maybe we're catching a break here on a cold night and the wind's blowing. And it affected us, but it didn't seem to affect that kid at all. He did a really good job, and it was just another game that I keep saying, I guess our kids are just so used to playing in these close ball games that they don't flinch. I'm a nervous wreck, but they seem to be pretty comfortable playing in that situation. And our defense made 3 consecutive stops in a row in the fourth quarter to get us a win there. So another tough game, and we were just fortunate to come out on top at the end.
Again, visiting with Seneca Indians head football coach Cody Hilburn. And coach, as you go in now to week 13, week 13, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you're taking on a Mexico team that's 9-2 on the season. They're coming off of a big win over a pretty good Blair Oaks team. What do you know about Mexico, and what are you going to have to do there to come out on top?
Well, we told our kids after we going into the district championship when we knew it was going to be cold, we felt like our system was built to win in November. We want to run the ball and we want to stop the run defensively. I think a Mexico team's a lot like that. They want to run the football and then they are physical in the box, stopping the run game. They're a flex bone team similar to Aurora, but they have two dynamic wing backs that can get out and go. And once they get in space, they are tough to catch and they're tough to tackle. So they're run first, but they're extremely explosive in what they want to do.
Now this game will be played on your home field down at Seneca. And I've played there, being a Mount Vernon graduate. Always a tough place to play. You guys get great support down there. Tell us what that means just to have that game at home.
Well, it's huge because we knew being the 4 seed, we got the opening round of the district at home, and we didn't know. And we told those guys that night we didn't know if we'd ever come back on that field this year. And we told our seniors this could possibly be the last time you put on the red jersey and get to play in what we think is one of the better atmospheres in the state. And even after winning the district championship, we kind of felt like Blair Oaks was the favorite going into that game. And if they would have won, we were going to travel again. And then to come off and before I got to talk to the team, someone whispered, to me that, hey, Mexico won, we're going back home, and get to announce that to the kids and the community all together around. It was a pretty cool thing to see. The kids are excited. The community's on fire and every building in town's already painted up and tickets went on sale today or yesterday. And the place is pretty excited.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, for the folks listening or watching here at MissouriSportsNetwork.com. Tell us just a little bit about your background, where you went to high school, college, and where you cut your teeth at the coaching profession.
Yeah, I went to college and played 4 years at Missouri Southern, and actually was fortunate enough to stay on staff and coach tight ends for 1 year at Missouri Southern. But I'm a Seneca graduate, so I'm coming back home here. And my last 10 years I'd spent at Carthage as the offensive coordinator, working under Coach Gotti in a place that I loved. I loved working and going through a few coaching opportunities that I have. I had finally settled in and told Coach Gotti, the only place that I probably consider is going back home to Seneca. And no more did I get that out of my mouth. And Coach McFarland, resigned and decided to go back to Webb, and it came open. And it was one of those things that I almost cringed because I didn't know if I was ready to go back just because I enjoyed what I was doing so much. But my family's from here, my wife's family's from here, and we couldn't pass up the opportunity. So we came back and to have this happen our first year back, go win a district championship, it's pretty surreal.
Yeah, coming out of the 4 seed nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, very good. Well, tickets have gone on sale and everything's ready to rock and roll. You guys pretty healthy? I mean, I know it's week 13, but
yeah, we are for the most part, and we tell our kids nobody feels great right now. We're into that point in the season, so just normal wear and tear, but nothing serious. We should have our full roster ready to go on Friday night.
You bet. Well, Coach Hilburn, thanks so much for being part of the show. I know this is our first opportunity to get to visit, and hopefully you guys come out on top, and we'll do this again next week.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Hey, you bet. You're listening to and watching Missouri Sports Network here at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Keep it right here.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.